turned out I was at the top table, sitting next to Tony Blair on one side, the Queen next to him, and then on the other side, the Saudi Arabia ambassador.
Isabella.
Yes.
The woman who became the first female president of the British Chambers of Commerce, sold a company, bought it back with her daughter at 60, completed a PhD in her 70s, and is now building a movement to prove that your best startup idea might be after your last day job. I got dizzy just saying all of that. But hearing it out loud, how does it feel hearing some of your accomplishments that are that great?
Well, I never think of them as accomplishments, actually. I just think that I just have to keep going all the time. You know, a new idea comes up and you think, wow, I really want to pursue this. And so it was the same with the PhD. I set up Comtech in my 30s. And that was in the days when there wasn't a lot of childcare and I needed to be flexible. So I used the skills that I had were my language skills. And so set up the company from scratch and, you know, built it up and then sold it. I sold the company and it was a chance conversation with the people that bought from me. They just said, look, we're not really going where we want to and we're changing direction. Do you know somebody? You know a lot of people in the industry. Could you help us to sell it? And it was just like a eureka moment. I remember I was just thinking, I wonder if I could buy it back again. Obviously for a lot less than we'd sold it for. And I rang Sophie, my daughter, and I said, do you fancy buying it back? And she said, yeah. She'd got a bit fed up of strategizing and she said, yeah. And so we did. And we bought it back for a lot less than we sold it for. And then I also think that once you reach a certain age, you do have a bit of an identity crisis, I think. You know, you begin to think, okay, well, you know, I'm 60. What next? You know, what's the rest of my life going to look like? And again, it's, you know, you're learning. I think that's one of the things that is so important, is to keep learning. And then I had a great friend in Scotland who runs an organisation that, she's retired now, but to support rural businesses in Scotland. So she set up my first group of interviewees. So I went up to Scotland to interview sort of people. I took those that have been in business, that set up in later life, a group of those that were thinking about it, and also those that would never think about running a business, to understand why they wouldn't. Some people, when I interviewed them, they said that when they actually said to other people that they wanted to set up in business, the response they got, are you crazy? What on earth do you want to do that in this time? Enjoy life.
Yeah.
There's a sort of stereotype that you should either be looking after your grandchildren, you know, you should be going out playing golf, you should be going on lots of holidays. So running a business isn't sort of very much within the sort of stereotype
Completely
of what
different.
You can do when you're later life. And that's the basis of Later Creator, my research findings. And I remember my husband saying to me, sadly he died nearly 2 years ago, but he said to me, Isabella, you're not just going to leave this, you've got to do something with it. You can't just do it for the sake of doing it. And that always stuck with me, actually, because I did a survey later on of about 5,000 people. I went out and sort of analysed it statistically, and one of the biggest things people said was that, oh yeah, setting up a business is a great idea, but it's not for me. And because of that, you know, it's not for me, I can't possibly do it. It's a good idea, but I don't think I can do it. So it's that, but why can't you do it? You know, if you think it's a good idea and you need a bit of, why can't you?
Another thing that you said about your trial that you had in Scotland, and as far as I'm aware, 15 people on it, 12 people went to start their own businesses, and 3 left feeling a lot more confident. Yeah. Now, what happened in the rooms behind closed doors that changed those people?
I think it was working through with them what it was that what their doubts were, because you've often got business support, so it's very sort of it's very clinical. You learn how to write a business plan, you learn how to do a marketing plan, cash flow forecast. But my view is you can write 10 of these business plans, but if you've got doubts all the time that you can't do it, there's always going to be something stopping you. There's always going to be a reason why you can't do it. So behind closed doors, it was working through with these people. What is it? What is it? What are these barriers that you have?
So if I'm a member of One Mill Street, I'm thinking about making that leap, but I've got all these doubts. What's the first step that I should take to eliminate those?
Is to sit down and think about what is it that's stopping me. You do need somebody to hold your hand, to say, okay, and help you through that. Because you can pick up the phone to various organisations, but if you're sort of all the time thinking, oh, I don't know if I can, or well, I'll make the call, you need to first of all think about what is it that's stopping you.
Your latest creator programme is so great because it prioritises emotional support over practical support. But I want to know, what's the cost of getting that wrong?
I remember one person that I interviewed, and I said, well, what's your one thought? He said, well, if you don't try, you'll never know. And I think that's so important. You've got to try. It might not work, but that's not the end of the world. You're a person that's lived your life. You've achieved a lot. You've got lots of skills and experience. You're going to try this. And if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world, but the process actually can be hugely enjoyable. So if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. The world's not going to fall apart.
You sound like you've got no fear of failure.
Well, I think that's something in this country that we're bad at. When you compare it, say, to the States, people set up businesses, they fail, they get up and do the next one. In this country, I think there's this thing, oh, I failed, oh, well, I'm not going to try again. But it's a completely different mindset, and you just have to try it, see what happens. It's great fun.
In 2002, you became the first female president of the British Chambers of Commerce. If you were to pick one moment where you always had to pinch yourself, like, I can't believe this is happening at your time as president, what would it be?
I received my CBE for services to the Chamber of Commerce movement. So going to the Buckingham Palace and getting my award from the Queen was quite a moment in my life, I must say. And the other one was when it was the Polish president, Kwaśniewski, and his wife came on a state visit.
Right.
And my husband and I received an invitation to the state banquet. And suddenly this equerries was by my side, and they said, oh, Mrs. Moore. And I said, yes. Well, would you like to come this way, please? I will show you where you're going to be seated. It turned out I was at the top table, sitting next to Tony Blair on one side, the Queen next to him, and then on the other side, the Saudi Arabia ambassador. And there I was. That was a moment which I remember fondly.
Oh my God!
And so these were some of the perks of the job that you remember. But
we have a closing tradition on this PodFast, which is where the guest, regardless of who they are, answers this one question.
Okay.
And that is, what is one message that you've never sent but you wish everyone would receive?
It's okay to fail. It's okay. And if you don't try, you will never know. So you could fail or you could not, but it's not the end of the world. And if you don't try, you'll never know. You have to come out of your comfort zone. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Isabel, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for taking me into the rooms across your life and your amazing career. I've thoroughly enjoyed having you on, so thank you for coming on PodFast.